Let's talk about food.
This is the amount of food I eat in a week.
Breakfast to lunches, dinner, supper, and snacks. More importantly, it's by eating like this, I went from looking like this to looking like this in 14 weeks. Most people think that the hardest part about preparing for a bodybuilding competition is the time spent at the gym. But the truth is that effort doesn't even come close to the energy required food-wise. Nutrition is the deal breaker in comp preparation. Like training, it has to be consistent, but eating and not eating, you do it every day throughout the day versus 1 or 2 hours at the gym. The amount of time you spend cooking, preparing, planning and eating food can dwarf the amount of time doing anything else. It also can be a massive element of your social life. Today I'm going to talk about my approach to nutrition during my competition preparation. I'll show you what I eat and how I prepare food in advance, which saves me a huge amount of time and energy during the week. I'll also cover how my diet changes over the course of 19 weeks and what effect it should have on my body. If you stick around till the end, I'll share with you my recipe for low-fat protein banana pancakes. But before I start, let's go back 18 months to see why I started focusing on this stuff in the first place. Back in 2019, I decided that I needed a fitness goal to motivate me. By then, I've been exercising quite regularly 4 or 5 times a week, and I'd been doing mostly group classes for the past 3 years. I do love my food, and I always considered myself a healthy eater, but never tracked my macros, calories, or had a food diary. Whenever I was trying to lose weight, I would do exactly the same things that lots of other people would do. Cardio, cutting out carbs, desserts, which would actually result in binging at random occasions. So despite having a regular exercise schedule, I hadn't been seeing any changes to my physique. So I became a body pump instructor, and although I really enjoyed the class environment, that still wasn't enough to make any changes to my body. However, becoming a body pump instructor was my entry into lifting weights. I got a coach to ensure that I get the technique right, and before I realized I was enjoying lifting heavier and heavier weights. It was at that time that I realized that I'm getting stronger, but at the same time, I got bulkier. And that, I hear, is the reason why many girls shy away from lifting heavy weights. That said, I did meet a lot of good-looking women at the gym who were strong and at the same time lean. So I approached them and asked what their secret was. Many were competitors in bodybuilding, and that's where I decided that I would like to try and follow a similar process to see how that impacted my body. I found a coach who specializes in bodybuilding and immediately realized that the main thing that I lacked is education around nutrition. Forever convinced that I was eating too much, I was super excited to realize that I wasn't eating enough. Nowhere near enough. Following the diet and exercise program, I went from weighing 67 kilos to 58 kilos over 14 weeks. I saw massive changes to my physique, to the point that people at the gym were approaching me and asking what my secret was. These are the people who were seeing me at the gym over a couple of years with not much happening, and all of a sudden, I changed. While exercise was an essential part of it, I need to say it was not the driving factor for my changes. I would guess that as far as the results were concerned, about 80% went down to nutrition. The difference between abs and no abs, all diet. So today, I'm 3 weeks into the prep with 16 weeks more to go. Ultimately, my goal this time is to have better physique than last time, which means having low body fat percentage, but better muscle definition. Before we go further, it might be helpful if I explain how bodybuilding competitions work. In female bodybuilding, there are a number of different categories for women who are trying to achieve a different look, varying from a softer bikini look to slim but defined, up to much bulkier physique. The criteria your body is judged by is stipulated by the category you're competing in. For example, if you have too much definition in the bikini contest, you'll be marked down. Apart from your physique, the judges also look at your stage presence, posing, and overall aesthetics. Categories also vary depending on a bodybuilding federation. I will be competing in a WBFF show. What category I compete in won't be settled until a couple of weeks out from the show, and it will depend on how my body responded to the process, how much muscle definition I have, and body fat levels. What I'm striving for is a fitness model look, which is very feminine but implies a good amount of lean muscle and low percentage of body fat. So let's go back to nutrition. Let's talk about what I eat and how much. My entire diet revolves around optimizing my macros, proteins, carbs and fats. So I'm going to talk how this changed throughout the process. Throughout the entire prep, my protein requirements remain consistent, 130 grams of proteins spread across all of my meals. Similarly, my fats requirements remain consistent throughout the entire process, but there is a difference between training and non-training days. On training days, it's 50 grams of fats, and non-training days it doubles up to 100 grams of fats. Carbs are a little bit more complicated, but we love them, so they deserve more attention. So as I said, over 19 weeks, while the amount of proteins and fats I consume will remain relatively consistent, the amount of carbs will change week to week depending on where I am in the process. This is known as carb cycling. For my biggest eating weeks, I'll be eating up to 300 grams of carbs per day, which is equivalent to 18 slices of bread. At my lowest point, I'll be down to 50 grams of carbs. That's about the same as 3 slices of bread. It's worth noting that these rules do not apply to 2 weeks leading into the competition, where everything will be defined by what my body looks like. Those weeks are likely to be so different that it's not worth covering it here, but if you're interested, leave me a comment and I'll cover it in a separate video. There are a couple of things worth noting with carbs. Firstly, fruit is counted separately and is not included in daily carbs count. This ensures that I'm getting most of my carbs from low sugar sources like potatoes, oats, bread and pasta. I usually have 2 serves of fruit a day, say an apple and a banana, which is an additional 20 grams of carbs per serve on top of what my carbs requirements are that day. Putting aside high-calorie vegetables like potatoes or sweet potatoes, vegetables are not counted towards my carbs numbers and are not tracked. They're great for filling you up when you're hungry, particularly when you already hit your macros for the day. I usually have at least 2 or 3 serves of vegetables a day, which you should be doing regardless of whether you're competing or not. You can think of the front of the cycle as building up muscle and the back end as cutting off all the fats, leaving you toned and conditioned. By increasing carbs early in the cycle, you fire up your metabolism and get used to burning lots of energy by building muscle. Towards the end of the process, you reduce your carbs intake, but continue to train hard at the gym. Your body wants to continue building muscle, but having less carbs to use, it starts pulling energy from fats. At the front end of the cycle, you eat more than you need, which is called caloric surplus. You often need to eat before you're hungry, to make sure you're squeezing in all the food required in a day. Quite often after eating you're left uncomfortably full, but halfway through the process when carbs drop down, you immediately notice the change in your energy levels, mood and hunger. While still eating a lot of food by normal standards, you're always left hungry after meals, especially after having to eat so much for so long. In both phases, bulking and cutting, dieting is the mental game. In a bulking phase, even though you're eating a lot, you have to watch your macros. Cooking without oil, no dressing on salads, and no butter on toast. And sometimes it's not even about that dessert you can't have, but rather otherwise healthy foods that do not fit your macros that day. So you can't have your avocado and toast and salmon on a training day because it's too fatty. There are 2 types of hunger you're going to deal with. The first one is your legitimate hunger when you're craving your next meal. And the second one, your inner cookie monster, who isn't really hungry but wants yummy food. At the back end, things get really serious as you eat and just can never get satiated. You just had a meal, but you feel even hungrier than before it. Last year, the hardest bit for me was during that transition from the bulking phase to the cutting phase, where I started cutting my carbs and my body was still craving them, and I really felt that drop in the energy. And remember, although you're hungry and low in energy, you still have to go to the gym and train hard. And if you're like me, you also have a day job on top. And then you're gonna ask what's left for your family, your partners, your kids, your dogs, friends, colleagues, and cat. They just deal with grumpy Jules for a few weeks. If your relationship really matters, they'll stick around. And it's not easy, it's meant to be hard. For me personally, the fact that I'm doing something hard means that I actually want it more. Doing something at 100% is actually easier than half-assing it. You will be amazed to notice that you don't miss something that's no longer an option. You've already made an absolute rule that you're not going to have a dessert, so you don't have to make that decision every day and just get on with it. In addition, you get challenged every time you go out. You have to be very careful with what you eat and meticulous with what you order, which can lead to some pretty interesting discussions with waiters at restaurants.
I'll do gluten-free base, please. I can't have any cheese on my pizza.
Gluten-free and vegan, yeah?
No oil,
No olive oil.
and no olives. So nothing fatty.
Olive oil is very important.
I know it is anti-inflammatory.
Oil is good for everything.
Yeah, look, it's different.
Oh, what if I
Dandy.
No cheese, no olive, no olive oil, no pizza.
So, what does this all look like each day? In week 4, a training day of food will look like this. Breakfast is 3 eggs, 3 pieces of gluten-free toast, and some vegetables. I'm not gluten intolerant, but I just prefer gluten-free toast or sourdough toast as I find that it bloats me less. Morning snack is a protein shake and a banana. Lunch number 1, 100 grams of white fish with vegetables. A couple of hours later, lunch number 2, same as the number 1, but maybe swapping fish for chicken. Dinner, 150 grams of lean meat with vegetables, 350 grams of sweet potato, which is 50 grams of carbs. And supper, a big bowl of oats or Weet-Bix with berries. Depending on the week and the process, I will increase or decrease my carbs. On non-training days, breakfast is eggs with vegetables and smoked salmon. For a snack, piece of fruit and a protein shake. Lunch number 1, chicken salad with avocado. Lunch number 2, lean meat with vegetable and nuts. Dinner is baked salmon with vegetables. And supper, same as training days. The question you might be asking yourself is, what is supper and why I'm having it? The logic is, consuming carbs before going to bed means that the energy from those carbs can be used for restoring the muscle rather than expanding that energy throughout the day. It can also trigger a nice food coma effect, meaning that you will fall asleep nicely. For me personally, the biggest upside from having supper is that I don't wake up starving and then I can go to the gym before having breakfast. So how do I do this every week? I usually make all of my lunches and dinners for a week in advance, and I make my breakfast and suppers on the day. Cooking for a couple of hours on Sunday means that I don't have to worry about my meals during the week, which saves me so much energy. So to have 2 lunches and dinner, I need to prepare 21 meals for a week. I cook up a bunch of protein, carbs and veg and portion them into containers, separated by training and non-training day meals. For me, bulk cooking is the massive learning from the last year because the amount of time that I can save not thinking about nutrition is helpful. I hope it's obvious by now that the diet side of things requires more commitment and energy than most realize. But that's what makes the difference between a regular gym goer and a fitness competitor. Look, it's not for everybody, but anyone can do it. The last thing I want to say before we go on to talking about banana pancakes is that the program is designed to prepare me for looking my best for a very specific point in time, which is the day of the competition. I'll talk about it separately in another video, but the preparation diet is very different to a regular maintenance diet. While the key principles remain the same, the body fat levels that I'm trying to achieve are unsustainable in the long term. My current body fat level is at 19% and I will be trying to get down to as close to 10% as I can. This is for a competition, not for every day. Anything under 15% of body fat, which is very lean, is considered unhealthy for most women. And under such circumstances, you may start noticing side effects. Last year, when I dropped to the low body fat percentage levels, my period has stopped for a couple of months. So if you would like to follow such a program, make sure that you educate yourself on all the risks and decide whether it's right for you. Importantly, don't do it alone. Get a coach, speak to people who have done it before and know what to expect. Any more questions? Ask me, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to help. Whew! That was lots to go through. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, click like. If you want to follow my journey to the competition and beyond, click subscribe button. There is a little notification bell next to subscribe button which you can click to get notified of all the new videos that I publish. Enough! Let's go to the pancakes. I usually have 2 serves of fruit a day. say, and a banana and an apple, which is an additional 20 grams of carbs per day. I usually have 2 serves of fruit a day. Say separate. 2 serves of fruits a day. Say, and a banana and apple and a banana. I usually have 2 serves of fruit a day, which is an additional 20 grams of carbs per day. Per serve. Почему же не получается ничего? It's my second language! Thanks for watching, guys. I'm making guilt-free protein banana pancakes. They're super easy and there are just a few ingredients that you need. A banana, an egg, 40 grams of oats, and a scoop of protein. I'm gonna pop everything into the bowl, mix it up. Before I do that, reach you on the way. Step 1, I'm gonna meal the oats in a little blender, and then I'm gonna mix all of the ingredients in the bowl. The frying bit is a bit tricky for me. My stick-free pan is actually sticky, so I'm gonna put on some baking paper to avoid olive oil. There's a Russian saying that the first pancake is the worst, but I reckon this one turned out quite alright. And voila! Pancakes are ready to go. You can serve them with yogurt, some berries, and maybe a little bit of peanut butter. And these babies are ready to be served. Enjoy! See you next time. Thanks for watching.